The oppressive atmosphere in room 3B was palpable, a sickly sweet scent mingling with the musty odor of age. Rain hammered against the Gothic windows, their rattling panes echoing the unease within. Huddled together in the flickering candlelight, the students' faces were drawn and pale. The power outage had plunged the ancient St. Jude's Academy into a disquieting darkness, amplifying every groan and creak of the old structure. Mr. Sharma, their usually cheerful teacher, wore a mask of forced composure. "Just remain calm, everyone. The generator should activate shortly." His words, however, rang hollow, and nervous glances passed between the students. The unsettling events had begun subtly. A fallen book, a misplaced ruler, followed by faint whispers, chilling drafts carrying a sigh, a name. Maya, the class skeptic, had initially dismissed it as the building settling, but even she felt a growing unease. Today, the situation had escalated dramatically. The heavy oak door of room 3B had slammed shut during their history lesson with a deafening boom, the latch clicking with an unnerving finality. Their combined efforts to open it had failed, and Mr. Sharma's frantic calls yielded no mobile signal. They were trapped. A low, mournful moan drifted from the shadowed corner of the room, where the darkness seemed to writhe with an unnatural life. Rohan, usually the most boisterous among them, whimpered, clutching Priya's arm. "Did you hear that?" Priya, her eyes wide with fear, nodded slowly. It sounded sad. The temperature in the room plummeted, sending a collective shiver through the huddled students. The candlelight flickered erratically, casting elongated, distorted shadows that danced on the damp stone walls. A cloying floral scent, like decaying lilies, filled the air, causing some to gag. "There's something here," Aisha whispered, her voice barely audible in the oppressive silence. Suddenly, a desk scraped across the floor on its own accord. Books tumbled from shelves, their pages rustling like dry leaves caught in an unseen breeze. Panic began to take hold, tears welling in several pairs of eyes. Mr. Sharma, his face ashen, struggled to maintain order, his voice trembling. "Everyone, stay together. There must be a logical explanation for this." But logic seemed to have abandoned room 3B. A blast of cold wind swept through the sealed room, extinguishing several candles and plunging them into near-total darkness. A blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. It was Sarah, pointing a trembling finger towards the blackboard. Scrawled across the dusty surface, in what appeared to be dried blood, were the chilling words, "You are not welcome." The remaining candles flickered, casting an eerie glow on the horrifying message. A wave of pure terror washed over the trapped students and their teacher. This was no ordinary power outage. This was something else, something undeniably malevolent. As the minutes stretched into an eternity, the paranormal activity intensified. Objects floated in the air, disembodied whispers brushed against their ears, and chilling laughter echoed from the empty corners of the room. Fleeting shadows danced at the periphery of their vision, hinting at a gaunt, unseen figure. Despite her fear, Maya felt a surge of adrenaline. Her lifelong fascination with the unexplained was now a terrifying reality. "We need to understand what it wants," she said, her voice surprisingly steady amidst the chaos. "Why is it doing this?" They attempted to communicate, their questions swallowed by the oppressive silence. Finally, a single word materialized on the blackboard. "Gone." "Gone?" Rohan repeated, his voice thick with confusion and fear. "What's gone?" More words appeared, slowly, painstakingly. "My son taken." A wave of understanding, tinged with profound sorrow, washed over Priya. "It's a spirit. A mother who lost her child." The atmosphere in the room shifted subtly. The malevolence seemed to recede, replaced by a palpable sense of grief. The violent movement ceased, and the chilling whispers softened into mournful sighs. Mr. Sharma, regaining some of his composure, spoke in a gentle tone. "What happened to your son?" The response was slow, hesitant. "Fell playground, no one helped." A collective gasp filled the room. St. Jude's had an old, dilapidated playground, closed for years after a tragic accident. A young boy had fallen from a broken swing and died from his injuries. The incident was shrouded in hushed whispers and lingering guilt. "What can we do?" Aisha asked softly, her fear now mixed with a deep sense of pity. The words that appeared next were faint, almost ethereal. "Remember his name. Show them." Suddenly, a vivid vision flooded Maya's mind. She saw a small boy, no older than 7, with bright, mischievous eyes and a gap-toothed smile. He wore a blue sweater and clutched a worn-out teddy bear. She saw him fall, his small body hitting the hard ground, and then nothing. "His name, it was Rohan," Maya whispered. the name echoing the terrified boy beside Priya. He loved to draw. He always carried a blue crayon. A gasp escaped Priya. My grandmother, she used to talk about a little boy who died on the old playground. The air in the room grew warmer, the oppressive darkness receding, replaced by a faint golden light emanating from the corner where the moaning had originated. The scent of lilies faded, replaced by the faint, sweet smell of crayons. On the blackboard, beneath the previous message, new words began to appear. Thank you, you remember. The golden light intensified, bathing the room in a warm, comforting glow. The locked door creaked open, revealing the dimly lit corridor outside. A sense of peace settled over the room, the lingering fear replaced by a profound sense of closure. As the students and Mr. Sharma cautiously stepped out of room 3B, they noticed a small, perfectly formed blue crayon lying on the floor near the doorway. The power flickered back on, flooding the corridor with harsh fluorescent light. The events of the past few hours seemed almost surreal in the mundane reality of the school hallway. Had it all been their imagination? The locked door? The chilling messages? The spectral presence? But the blue crayon lying on the floor was undeniably real. Days turned into weeks. The story of room 3B became a legend whispered among the students. The old playground was finally renovated, a small memorial plaque placed in memory of young Rohan. The strange occurrences in room 3B ceased. Years passed. The students of room 3B grew up, carrying the memory of that terrifying night. Some remained skeptical, attributing it to mass hysteria and the power of suggestion. But others, like Maya and Priya, knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. One evening, years later, Maya received an unexpected package. Inside was an old, leather-bound diary belonging to Rohan's mother. The entries detailed her grief, her desperate attempts to communicate with her lost son, and her eventual acceptance, fueled by a strange encounter years ago with students who had spoken her son's name. The final entry read, "My Rohan is at peace." They remembered him. They saw him. Thank you, kind strangers. You have given my son his story back. Attached to the last page was a faded photograph of a young boy with bright, mischievous eyes and a gap-toothed smile, holding a worn-out teddy bear. And tucked into the corner of the photograph was a small, blue crayon,